And we are live with another episode of Comic Talk. It's that show brought to you by The Keeg, where we talk about this week's new comic book releases. It's July 2024, specifically July 4th, 2024. We're here to talk about all the comics that came out this week. DC Comics, Marvel Comics, Indie Comics. I'm your host, Dimithri Perera. And for those of you who don't know, DC and Marvel and Indie Comics now all come out on Wednesdays. Maybe shops might have an option to release them early. I'm not quite sure how that works. I know digital has an excuse, but for those of you who are out there trying to find a comic shop near you, go to comicshoplocator.com, find a comic shop near you, and also while you're online, like and follow us here at The Keeg, at The Keeg Show / The Keeg Show, twitch.com/The Keeg Show, youtube.com/The Keeg Show. The Keeg on wherever you get your podcasts from. Anyway, I'm your host, Dimithri Perera. We also got guest Manny Handres. Manny reads comics, who was able to do an earlier time with me on July 4th. Manny, thanks for being here.
To be here. Happy Independence Day. And I think talking about your the whole comic book store thing, I tried to talk to my local comic shop, like, hey, you guys get these books early, right? Like, can I come in on Tuesday? And they're like, no.
No? Oh,
They
okay.
like something. It wasn't like anything against me. It was just more like if it's found out that we do this, then like there's punishments,
It's
there's
frowned upon.
consequences.
Yeah.
And I was like, I won't tell anybody. Just help me out.
Yeah. It's funny because, like, we've been talking about this for a while, but as long as Comic Talk has been a thing, which is, I think we started in 2021. I don't think it was 20. I think it was 2021. It might have been 2021 that we did Comic Talk. DC has been on Tuesdays. Marvel and Indies came out on Wednesdays, and we talked about it all here on Thursday. So now it just means that. Is this your edge? Oh yeah. What was I saying? Oh, we gotta read everything on a Wednesday to talk about it on a Thursday now. We don't get that extra day now.
Yeah. Nope. Not at all.
Okay.
But it's all right. We did it before. I mean, at least I did, so it's fine.
Well,
It's
back in the
no
day,
big
but that
deal.
was a long time ago. DC switched over in 2020.
Yeah.
So,
Honestly, I'm surprised that they even did the change back, because it's just when it happened, I was like, yeah, this is fine. It's not a big deal. It's weird, whatever. But now, it just seems like it was so quick. Like, I feel like it just happened. The change still just happened. It was still kind of new to be like, oh, DC books are on Tuesday,
yeah.
uh, but no, yeah,
I mean,
I'm all right
before
with it. I'm happy with.
what? You're
I was
happy
gonna
with
say,
it?
I'm happy with everything being on one day.
It makes sense, right? So it makes sense for people who can only go to the comic shop on one day, or maybe can only go on one day, or only want to go on one day. Sure. And you go and you pick up all your comics on Wednesdays. But I feel like those people would anyways just go on Wednesdays and pick up
Yeah.
all their comics for the week. But I think that there are probably a few people that if they're not interested in Marvel and they're only interested in DC, they can go on a Tuesday. It's probably less busy, pick up their DC comics, and they don't
Probably.
get swayed by other companies, I guess. So
Yeah.
I guess by DC moving over, it only helps other companies. I'm trying to think,
I feel like it might just mostly affect the comic book stores in general, and then distributors, shipping and all that
Right.
mess. But I feel like, yeah, it gave comic book stores, maybe they had to like set things up on Tuesday earlier, so now it gives them a day, but now it's more of a workload on Tuesday night to get things ready for Wednesday. And instead of having like all DC stuff, I can have it ready on Monday. Tuesday I can get stuff ready for the rest of the books, but now it's all on one day.
And it makes me wonder, maybe it's because, I mean, DC classically has less comics per week than Marvel.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, I've been noticing that, yeah.
DC roughly has like 10, Marvel has like 15 to 20, a week. And then the indie comics come out on Wednesdays too. So maybe it's not even worth a full shipment to ship DC Comics. Like, maybe shipping them
Weird.
all together,
Yeah,
but they're not the same distribution companies anyway anymore, right? So what's the point? They're not sharing a truck, right?
I don't know.
I don't know
Yeah,
how it works.
honestly, I don't think about it. I'm like, as long as I get my books, I don't care where it comes from.
Yeah. I'm looking at the list of the best-selling comics last year for 2023. And it's mostly Marvel. For 2023, the number one best-selling comic book by units. I don't have the amount of units written here. By units, but not by dollars. There's a little bit of a difference because high-priced books and stuff. But like, if we're dealing with units, the amount of comic books, Transformers number one was number one in 2023.
Wow,
Number two was
that's cool.
Spider-Man number
Crazy.
7. What book was Spider-Man number 7? Because it's not Amazing Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Oh, that would have been the title that started with Edge of Spider-Verse. I think that was like it introduced Spider-Boy and stuff like that, maybe?
Yeah, but that still wasn't Spider-Man. Like, I don't think there was a Spider-Man just
It was
with
just
no.
called Spider-Man.
um,
Yeah, it was the Edge of the Spider-Verse issue. And I think it was the first issue of Spider-Boy. So might have been speculative purchases. But then we got Amazing Spider-Man 25. Then we have Batman 135, which was issue 900. Then
that makes me mad that 25 is up there. Amazing Spider-Man 25 is up there. That's
which
annoying. That seems like it's a spec buy as well, but
which one
that
was
was the
that?
death of Kamala,
Oh
the
yeah,
death of Miss Marvel,
yeah, um,
and it just the fact that it's so high up there is like telling Marvel like you're doing great, but it's like that was a shit
yeah.
issue.
That
So
was these are by
that's
units,
annoying.
right? So keep in mind that was also Amazing Spider-Man 25 is $7.
Yeah,
Um, and Amazing Spider-Man
well, not so much.
25 was the highest sold by dollar. That was the number one by dollar because it was seven. It's number one by dollar, and it's third by units. So the fact is, it's $7. It sold a lot. But yeah, you're right. It does kind of tell Marvel, yeah, do these kind of.
That was a good move. No, it wasn't.
Ugh.
Nobody was happy with that.
But people bought it. But you're right, speculative. It's hard because it's like, are these purchases made by readers or by speculative buyers? You have the loyalty of readers, right? Like that's the goal. Like that's where you drive quality. Like quality is driven by the reader's longevity, I think, right? But like speculative is like just across the board anything that is a number one or first issue or death of or whatever. I don't know. It's weird.
And this hobby has always had spec buyers and stuff
Yeah.
like that, but I feel like COVID definitely brought in a whole bunch of people that had nothing better to do at home for a while, and so then
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh, people like comics. Let me get into comics. Let me start buying these comics." I feel like it COVID really did bring in a bunch of
Well, it's
uh
it's spec buyers across the
speculators.
board. Because think about like
Yeah,
NFTs and bitcoins and all that, and like Robinhood and like all those that idea that like we just stay at home and while COVID and the pandemic is going on, maybe we can make some money. Whether it's comics,
yeah,
whether it's stocks, whether it's game, game stonk or whatever it was called.
yeah.
And it's like okay, but then Void Rivals number one was number 5 top 50 comic books by units, which I think is very interesting because it's not a name brand. Even though it had to do with Transformers, it didn't
That's
have
what
to
I'm
do with
saying. Like
Transformers until right at the end.
that right there sounds to me as more of a fan buy. Other than there are gonna be specs, it's like, oh, it's a new universe, Energon
Yeah.
universe that is tied to Transformers, but that it does seem like that one's more fueled by I love Transformers, so therefore I'm going to buy this book
Yeah.
instead.
But then 6, 7, and 8 were Amazing Spider-Man 26, 17, and 23. Uh, Number 9 was Predator versus Wolverine number 1. And then number 10 was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Last Ronin, Lost Years 1. Which could be speculative because Last Ronin did really well, but also seems like a fan buy. Like, it's a sequel to Last Ronin's.
Yeah.
Or prequel or whatever. So I'm looking at all these. Most of the, I mean, it just looks like Amazing Spider-Man dominates all the charts. Amazing Spider-Man and Batman is pretty much it. Like, to get past kind of what we were talking about, Ultimate Invasion number 1 was number 17. Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong number 1 was 18. Incredible Hulk number 1 was 20. Avengers number 1. I mean, now we're just getting number 1s at that point.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting. So, I guess tying it in with, like, who loses, who gains by DC going back to Wednesday. This is something to think about.
No, I'm gonna read my comics and that's it. I'm not gonna think about that at all.
Yeah, it's just I want to be able to read my DC comics on Tuesdays. That's the thing. For me to be able to like do this show every week, like I kind of need a head start. So maybe I'll do some deals with DC and Marvel and
maybe you'll have to switch some shows around. You know, maybe the Comic Talk Thursday changes to Friday.
It's in such a like very distinctly Thursday. Like if I move it, I can't. I just can't. So we do what we can. What did you read this week?
I had a pretty light week. 7 comics: Birds of Prey from DC Comics, Shazam from DC Comics, Doctor Strange from Marvel, Miles Morales Spider-Man, and from Image I had, this is technically one title, but it was 2 books: Radiant Black and then Rogue Sun number 20.
Was Rogue Sun tying in?
Sorry, so that was the way I said that was confusing.
Yeah.
So I read Rogue Sun, and then Radiant Black 29 is 2 issues. It's Radiant Black 29 and then 29.5.
Right.
So it's all one story. I really am like, and we can go into it a little bit later, but it's really good. And so yeah, so it was 2 issues, but technically it's the same story.
Okay. I started Radiant Black a long time ago and then I stopped, you know, and I mean I liked it. I just never I never got like I just never picked it back up again, and I needed to, and it was a little bit of a problem. But something that is cool that I just never got a chance is it's 2 diverting timelines. So they do 2 issues on the same week. One's a number and one's a number 0.5. Is that what it is?
Yeah, and that's it. It's not going to be forever. It's just like right now, like the event that's happening, exactly what you just said is there's 2 timelines. There was a decision that was made in the story, which now it's like decision A, decision B, and then it just goes on to show you the repercussions of each decision and how the world could be a little bit different. And there was a whole vote too from that decision. Like the decisions were made by the fans, and you thought that your vote counted. I think it will count eventually, but right now it's like, oh yeah, your vote actually didn't count. We're gonna show you both routes anyways.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think that voting that happened is gonna come back into play when this event is over. But for now, it was like what's going on? Like I thought I voted for this guy. This guy won. Why are we seeing this? And
it would have been cool.
It's really cool.
Yeah. The biggest fan vote that has ever happened in comic books is the death of Jason Todd. Like, iconically, historically, the biggest fan vote. It would have been funny if they were like, how about we kill him and keep him alive? And, like, create 2 Batman timelines.
That's exactly what's happening. Yeah, like that's exactly what's going on.
I mean, that's a cool idea. That's a cool idea. I like the innovation that comes with third-party comic companies. You know, DC and Marvel can innovate as much as they can, but like third parties, they're forced to innovate to compete.
Was the Jason Todd voting thing, was that the first time that ever happened in comics?
As far as I remember, as far as I know, not remember, I wasn't around back then, but as far as I know, yes. There were rumors that he was planned to die no matter what. and that they
Yeah.
fudged the numbers. There are rumors there, but it was a call-in number. It was like a toll-free number that you called in.
Even even if they fudge the numbers or whatever, it doesn't matter. Like it was the first time that you at least felt like you had your input counted in this storyline. So that's cool. I think that Batman story is forever gonna go down in history for being the first, right? But
Yeah.
I think if Radiant Black, the universe, the Massiverse can continue its momentum that's going up, I think it'll be up there with like one of the top best comic book moments voting wise
All right.
for whatever stories, because it's so good. Today I literally had, as I was reading the Radiant Black issue, I turned the page, I saw an image, and I was and I just, I just turned around and I was like, oh my God, like I had to like take in what I just saw before I could actually continue reading, because
You got
it
spoiled?
just keeps blowing your mind. I can spoil it if you want to, man, but
I mean, we'll talk about it in depth. I'll just go while I'm setting up some of the images. I'll go over what I read this week. I read Batman 150. I read Miles Morales Spider-Man 22. I read Doctor Strange 17. Absolute Power #1. That's DC Comics current event. Birds of Prey 11. Justice Society of America 10. Shazam 13. All of these books I wouldn't have been able to read if I was reading all on the same day. There's a lot of DC books that I read, you know?
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
then I read Deadpool 4. I read The Boy Wonder 3. I read most of Life of Wolverine #1. So I don't know how it ends and whether it's just a one shot or not. I'm not quite sure, but it is what it is, I guess. Um, then unfortunately, I read Spider-Man Reign 2 #1. Spider-Man Reign.
Oh, I didn't read the original one, and
Ugh,
I'm not reading this
everybody hated
one.
the original
So
one, and I don't know why Marvel is doing this. I think it's to show
because they
how,
keep getting numbers that show, hey, you're doing a good job.
yeah,
So
but they
there you
know it
go.
was universally like derided, right? Like nobody liked the original Spider-Man Reign, and because it was like Dark Knight Returns, but for Spider-Man, and the art kind of mimics Frank Miller's art
Yeah.
on it. But at the same time, like everybody has like this is 20 years ago. Like everybody classically like hates that. And so I don't know what they were thinking by doing this, other than maybe to show how bad Spider-Man comics can be to make their normal comic run look good. You know what I mean? Like maybe
Wait,
there's a
is
comparison
this?
because they're showing Ultimate
Are
Spider-Man to show
you
how good Spider-Man could be, but maybe they're doing a bad comic to be like appreciate Amazing Spider-Man, which is, by
are
the way,
you
getting
saying
better. I'm just saying.
are you saying that Reign 2 is worse than the main Spider-Man line?
Oh yeah, yeah. Especially
Really?
right
Oof.
now because Amazing Spider-Man is kind of coming back. Um,
No, it's not.
have you been reading it?
I- I'm 2 weeks behind, so
Oh,
I'll shut my
oh, you
mouth
don't. Oh,
there.
you
So
don't
I
like?
can't really
Okay.
talk. I
I'm not
am
saying I
going to
love
read
it.
it. I just I have not. You know what? I may be 2 weeks behind, but I think I might be 3 issues behind on Amazing Spider-Man. So
Okay.
I can't talk about it for the last month. But
Okay.
what I have read, it's just not Spider-Man, and
It's
everyone agrees.
well, right now. I mean, you want to just say a quick spoiler for it? I
Sure.
mean, right now he's taken over by essentially like a Green Goblin persona, and they're trying to like get back. But I think my favorite part of this is Craven, because I think Craven's
Cool.
really cool. Because Craven's like, oh no, I fucked up. Like we need a Spider-Man, and we can't have
Yeah.
this Spider-Man. So like Craven's kind of like, oh. And also, by the way, I read My Adventures with Superman #2. Um, and there was a couple other ones that I really wanted to read this week: Holy Roller 7, X-Men Blood Hunt Psylocke 1, Scarlet #2, because I Scarlet #1 was amazing. I mentioned it a couple weeks back, and I didn't get to that this week. But
Harlot, is that a Marvel or is that
no, that's Image Comics GI Joe
Image?
related
Okay.
comic. It's
Oh,
called
that's right. That's right.
Scarlet.
Yeah.
Because um, Transformers and
The
GI
G.I.
Joe are
Joe
all
universe.
related,
Yeah.
but her comic is more like a Black Widow comic, and
Yeah.
it's a Black Widow comic if Black Widow was interesting. Like, not all Black Widow runs are good. Some are good, Some aren't,
heard
but
the
like,
I heard this last run was really good. I was told to read it. I have it, but I was
mm,
told to read it.
is the last? Are we talking Black Widow and Hawkeye? That run?
No, the Kelly Thompson's run. Is it Kelly Thompson? I'm pretty
It
sure
was
it
a
is.
while back.
It
It was a
was.
while back.
I, I think it was only 13, maybe 14 issues long.
Okay, I
Maybe a
f-
year ago.
okay. I forget which one that was, but maybe I forget.
Yeah.
Black Widow was not
Um,
my favorite, but oh well. Oh yeah, Black Widow and White Widow had a comic at the same
yeah.
time. It was something like that. Anyway, I forget. Point being is, well, I don't know what my point was. Scarlet #1 was really good, so I really wanted to read Scarlet 2 this week, but I didn't get a chance. It should have been a movie. I was telling, I don't think it was with you, right? I didn't read Scarlet 1 on. Okay,
No,
so I
no.
was
I hadn't
telling
talked to
whoever the
anyone.
guest was. By the way, I don't get my guests confused, but I do get my weeks confused because of all the
Mhm.
guests coming in and out. But I did mention how like the problem with like GI Joe movies is they're just not good, right? I guess the problem is they're not good. Um,
No, I like that very first one. Marlon Wayans, he did a good job.
it was cheesy, but I liked it. I did like it. I did.
Yeah.
I also liked Retaliation, the one with the Rock coming in. Um, but Snake Eyes was not good. And if you want to do a solo movie, they shouldn't even say that it's a GI Joe movie. Like, don't bill it as a GI Joe movie. They should do it like this comic and call it
Mhm.
Scarlet, and it's just a badass female action movie. And if you know, you would know her name, you know her, but you don't need to be like a GI Joe movie presents Scarlet and then lean into that. Like, do it and
That
then
would be
tease the
nice
GI
and
Joe at the end.
refreshing, but yeah. It would be refreshing, but I feel like marketing wise, all the people that are in charge are they're like, no, you have to tell them so we can sell the toys, so we can sell this, so they can look forward to blah blah blah. Even though it would be cool if it's just like figure it out on your own. Notice that on your own. If you're a real fan of this movie, you'll start seeing the
But you also
connections
don't
between
have to be
all
a
of these.
fan. You know, you don't have to be a
Yeah,
GI
but
Joe
that's what I'm
fan to
saying.
like it. Yeah,
If you watch Scarlet, like let's just say they made the movie Scarlet, like you watch Scarlet, then you liked it so much, you can start seeing, you can like make your own references and start actually seeing that it's connected to this Transformer movie and it's connected to this other GI Joe movie, and it's like we shouldn't have to tell you
right.
because you are such a fan of it yourself once you start liking it.
Just treat it
But
like a regular movie, like Atomic Blonde, or like
yeah,
Jessica
yeah,
Chastain had a movie called Ava, like any of those like female led action movies, but like tease that it's part of a universe, and that's cool. That's
yeah.
cool to me, you know.
I mean, the Avengers did it right the first time with Iron Man. Just, at the end of the movie, just be like, hey, Hulk wants to talk to you or something.
Yeah,
Like at the end of the Scarlet movie, just be like, hey, Joe wants to meet you with it. Just like
yeah,
at the end of the Transformers movie. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
but they don't have, I don't know. I'm not part of that world, so I can't really
It's
talk.
I think franchise fatigue is also part of franchise
Yes.
fatigue is again the lack of innovation. You have to innovate to keep the same thing going. You have to constantly reinvent and innovate new things and whatnot, and demand more and different things from your audience, and your audience is demanding more and different things from you. You can't just do the same thing over and over again. Um,
Yeah.
I don't think franchise fatigue in and of itself is just anti-franchise, but it's anti-franchise the same thing over and over. Um, but like, if you're doing a franchise off of like, yeah, GI Joe, they want to bill it as a franchise, but don't bill it as a franchise. Just do a Scarlet movie. Anyway, the comic's really good. I didn't get to read issue 2. This comic's really good. I recommend it. I'm assuming issue 2 is just as good as issue 1. Let's talk about because you did talk about it already, but like anything you want to get off your chest for Radiant Black 29 and 29.5.
Yeah. What? Do you want to hear the spoilers or anything like that?
Tell me what the big decision is. I'm very interested because that happened a
Okay.
long time. That happened what at least 10 years or 10 issues ago.
So you've read up to the point where like the guy got the powers, Nathan got the powers, and I'm assuming you got to the part where he got in a fight with the red one
Yeah,
and he got it. and he got put in the hospital
Yeah.
and like so yeah, so he got put in the hospital in a coma, and when that happened, well, there needed to be another Radiant Black, so his best friend took up the mantle as Radiant Black, Marshall, and that was it. Like now he's doing it. He's, in my opinion, I hated Marshall like so much. In the
Yeah.
like the first 5 issues, Marshall's character was very annoying to me. But then he took up the mantle and he actually started being like he did not change who he was as a character, but he was using that power better
Hmm.
in than Nathan was. Like he was actually trying. Nathan was like kind of scared or more focused on his own life
Yeah.
than he was focused on being a hero. And Marshall actually took that and was like, you know what, I need to be better. I need to train. I need to get used to these powers. So all of that, so Nathan's still in a coma, whatever. He wakes up, but now they both have the powers. That's like the twist. Like they both have like a half of the Radiant, but after a while they realize we can't both have it. We need to choose who's it going to be. Who's going to be Radiant Black?
Yeah.
And that's the big vote. So
Oh,
the comic readers, they could go online and they could vote. We want Nathan to be Radiant Black, or we want Marshall to be Radiant Black. I voted for Marshall. Let me just throw that out there. Marshall's the better Radiant Black. But now they're showing you the divergence of like the consequences of Marshall being Radiant Black and his decisions on anything that's about to, because there's a huge alien invasion about to happen. So that's like the big thing of right now of why it's being diverged. And then so there's the other series where it's Nathan is the Radiant, and his choices same questions, I guess you could say. They have like 3 trials. So same trials, each one has the same trial, but each one uh tackles those trials differently with different results.
right.
And so right now it's just there's a lot of death happening that you're just like, oh my
In
God, like
both
how is this gonna
timelines.
be taken? Yes. Yeah.
So no matter
Right. So
what timeline wins out, there will be
yeah.
long-standing ramifications.
And so like issue 27, 26, 27, I want to say, Marshall's looking really good. Like, yep, I knew it. Marshall would be the better Radiant. Nathan is doing a bad job. And then you get like issue 28 and 29, and you're like, no, wait, Nathan's doing a good job. Marshall messed up. Like
Yeah.
he's not doing great. So it's like there is no optimal decision here. It's either one, like it's consequences, and you can't decide. Um, I don't know how it's gonna end. I assume it's gonna be like they will go back in time and none of this actually happened, and I don't know, whatever. Like that the typical like pull the like, oh no, it's fine, everything is okay, everything you just saw was just a dream, no big
Yeah.
deal. But hopefully it doesn't, and hopefully there is like some kind of ramifications of either decision. But that's what I'm saying. Like there's so much going on that I don't want to spoil too much
Yeah.
that get back in it. And if you
Who's
haven't
the
started it, start
artist?
Radiant Black. Uh,
Are they
there's
two different
I
artists for
think
the 29 and 29.5?
no, they should be the same. Uh, Artist is Eduardo Ferrigato, and I believe yeah, Marcelo Costa is the other artist that's on it too. They're both good. They're both the art's amazing on it,
The
and
same
like
artist for
they
both
they
issues or
convey.
no?
Yeah, yeah. It there
How do they
nothing
get the
changes in
art
the
done?
issue. They work they work hard,
You can't.
or
Artists
they
don't
they
work on two
they
titles at the same time.
they also, but it's the same artist.
Yeah,
It's the
yeah,
same title.
yeah. But I mean, it's double the pages.
Yeah.
Artists
But so they
roughly.
just took like a long break. Like they just came back from
Oh,
like 2, 3 months. Yeah.
oh, that's why. Okay, because yeah,
Yeah.
artists, relatively speaking, artists can do like a page a day. So
That's what they tell you, but they can do more. That's
it
fine.
depends on the
It's
artist. I'm
fine.
sure
It's
Frank
fine.
Miller,
Nah.
current Frank Miller, put
Hmm.
out 10 pages a day because his art is crap now. Like, sorry, Frank Miller. Frank Miller will probably never be
No.
on this podcast. So is it fair to say that like I can say what I want about Frank Miller? Yeah, his have you seen his
Well,
Wolverine? That Wolverine art that
I
came out recently?
I try not to. Oh, is that the cover you're talking
The really
about? That
mangled
it's
like
just
Wolverine and
yeah,
he kind of like
no.
looks like this.
Yeah,
People
I
out
try
there
not to
got to
look
be
at
able
his
to see
work.
like this. It's like it's weird. It's so weird.
Yeah.
such, and like his art used to be good. Well, I mean, not like
And
his art was
wasn't
never
that
amazing, but it was what it was, you know.
and wasn't that a ratio cover too? I think it was
A what?
like a ratio cover. So basically, like it
Mm,
cost more, like 10, $20 or
yeah, I
something.
thought you said a racial cover, and I'm like, Frank Miller might have
No,
some problems though with
no.
that, but I don't know what was
Uh,
it.
ratio,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
ratio.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So ratio cover is what? Is when a comic shop has to order X amount to get a fraction of X of
Mhm.
another cover,
Right,
right? Yeah. Okay.
right. There's like the 1 in 15, 1 in 25, 1 in 50. Yeah, they have to order 15 copies to just get one or
Yeah.
something.
Is
So
it? Do they get one for free, or do they order it and they are able to buy that cover?
I don't know. I would assume if if it was me, I would hope that the racial cover is free, but business wise, I bet you they have to pay for it too. Like you have to order 15 plus, I bet,
Hmm.
but I don't know.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. All right. Um, Radiant Black. Is it worth hopping on? Is it worth me hopping on and like catching back
I
up?
have not. There's like little like I think there was maybe out of the 29 issues that are out, a little bit more actually. Um, I think there's been like two issues where it's like, oh, this is a little slow, but it's like an in between issue, so it's gonna be slow. That there is no fighting that you can't just have 100% action at all times. So I cannot speak ill of Radiant Black at all ever because it's just that good. The Massiverse in general is good, but Radiant Black is probably the best title.
Okay.
Right, Rogue Sun is right there, but Radiant Black is the original, so
Uh-huh.
it gives them that little bonus points.
Okay. Um,
Yeah.
my pick of the week is Batman 150. Did you read it?
I skimmed it.
Okay. It's fair.
And it didn't seem like it was an actual issue. It looked like it was one of those like it reminded me of that like that episode of the Batman where it's like everyone talks about, hey, this is my interaction with Batman. This is like everyone's point of view of Batman,
Yeah.
but this is just one person's point of view, I think.
Kind of. It so I'm okay. I'm a sucker for Batman comics that make me like weepy. I didn't outright cry for this, but I got like sad.
Yeah, I didn't read it. I just skimmed it.
Um
So yeah,
the
okay.
story is really good. The main story. There's two stories. One takes up most of the issue, and then there's like a couple more pages for like a lead into absolute power, I think. And so the thing about this one, because I talked about how much I loved issue 149, and that might have been like 2 weeks ago that it came out. Issue 149 made me cry. Issue 149, I can't say this enough. Chip Zdarsky's run makes sense leading us into 149. So I don't know if you gave up. Did you give up on it?
I gave up on it. Yeah, as soon as Failsafe came back, I was like, I'm done. Failsafe was annoying, and so
I
the
don't want
fact
to
that he was back is
guarantee. So Failsafe is annoying, and Failsafe is in absolute power. He's like
yeah,
doing stuff.
of course.
Fair. And I can't guarantee 100% that for everyone else that issue 149 makes up for everything. But for
I
me,
agree with
it
you.
makes sense. It all like I was like you. I'm like I'm tired. This is not the Batman that I want. I'm very specific on the Batman that I want. I don't want a paranoid, delusional Batman. I want a Batman about his family. I want a Batman about love. I want a Batman about spreading hope. And I know he's not Superman. He doesn't. I'm not asking him to be Superman, but I'm asking for him to be human and to understand that he has a family and like that's the Batman. The compassionate Batman, compassion is a huge part of Batman for me, which is why I don't like Dark Knight Returns. I don't care.
I think that Batman will. That's the problem with longtime readers is that you're gonna have Batman start here, and he's gonna learn all these lessons, and then the next arc, new writer, new whatever, he starts right back down, and he has to learn those new lessons all again, and that's the problem just with DC. And I think I talk to you about this every single time I'm
Yeah.
on. It's just Marvel and DC. longtime readers know their characters.
Yeah.
So to see them start from that bottom rack again, it's a little like that's my problem with Batman too. I've been reading Batman. I gave up on Batman like when Zurinol, whatever his name
Yeah.
is, uh turned like it was that big the milestone issue where you saw all of them.
Yeah.
The next issue after that, I was like, I'm out. I'm done.
So I'm gonna be honest. Yeah, I didn't like that. I didn't like him when going through the multiverse. I didn't like Zur-En-Arrh, and I still don't.
Fair
But
enough.
Chip Zdarsky has taken what Grant Morrison like kind of kicked off with Zur-En-Arrh, and dare to say, I think he's made sense. I like, and he's also
And you're
not only
saying
was that
you're saying that 149 is where it makes sense?
no, there's a couple issues right before 149 where it leads in, uh, where it makes sense. To me, how do I put this? Not only does it make sense for Zur-En-Arrh, you have Batman actively commenting on his own doubt about him versus Zur-En-Arrh, and like the things that readers are also thinking he's saying. So it's like, okay, we're all on the same side here. Just join me on this journey and it'll wrap up. So 149 made me cry. It was the Batman that I've wanted this whole run, and I think Chip Zdarsky pulled it off.
Maybe I'll pick it back up where I left off and test that. I want
I'm
to
gonna if
because
I'm
you're
gonna
making me
say
want
if
to
you're gonna
find out.
test it, do that and finish 149, and then if you hate me, come on next episode and tell me you
I'm
hate
not
me.
gonna come
You
on the
just
show anymore.
no. I don't want to put that at risk. That's
I'm
not
done.
the. I'm not risking
I'm
that. You okay? Never mind. I back up. I'm not gonna
no.
guarantee. I'm not gonna guarantee, but I will say it makes sense for me. It makes sense with my, like what I want from Batman. Batman is a huge. I'm a huge fan of Batman, but I don't act like it because Batman stands are ridiculous. Batman's
What time is it?
yeah, I used to be that type. I used to be a big fan of Batman to the point where I'm like, Batman can just beat anyone. Of course, he can just beat Batman. And then I realized what we're doing with our superheroes isn't as interesting. Power battles aren't that interesting to me. I used to be very into it when I was younger. And it might be like a kid thing where you're playing with action figures and you want your hero to beat. But I equate it to my dad can beat up your dad.
Yeah.
And this idea when you're a kid, my dad can beat up your dad. If your dad loses in a fight against my dad, are you going to love him less? Do you only love your dad because you feel like he can beat another dad in a fight? No. Like, and I'm not saying people love their dad or not love their dad. I'm just saying that if you do love your dad, it's not because of his skills in beating up other dads. It's that
Not
it's
his
his
record.
personality
Yeah.
and the things that he does and the way he treats you, the way he treats his family. So my favorite superheroes don't have to be the strongest. Some of them are, but it's more about their personality and how they treat like the story as opposed to like the fights. I don't need Batman to breathe in space, but I need Batman to
I think that's
learn
also another
from
thing.
his past.
Right. And so with Zernar and then the kill save or fail save coming back, that's what really like got that nail in the coffin is because I was like, you are this out, and I was expecting, and we talked about this. We were expecting that this was like the beginning of like the end for Bruce Wayne as Batman. That because this was around the New Dawn, DC's New Dawn or whatever. So we were guessing or assuming that oh maybe someone else is going to take up the mantle, or maybe he's going to take a step back and become a coach. Maybe something's going to change with
Right.
Batman, and it just dragged and dragged. And it's like oh so nothing's going to change, and so that's how it felt.
I'm going to blame DC editorial
Yeah, Dawn of
because
DC. Like, what are you talking about?
what's that?
What do you mean? The dawn of DC. It's like, what are you talking about?
Right.
What dawn? Nothing changed.
My thing about and it's not that I'm speaking bad about DC, but DC's motivations are different than a writer's motivation. A writer's motivation is tell the best story they can. DC's motivation is to keep all existing licenses going, to create and plan crossover events, to make sure that times fit. So you get things like an Amazing Spider-Man Marvel where I feel like the writer, it's Zeb Wells, right? Zeb Wells is right, that everybody hates. I like Zeb Wells on Hellions. I like him on that. I think it's Marvel editorial stepping in and being like, look, that story you had planned, save it for issue 20 and just run the clock till issue 20 because we have things in store like Hellfire Gala, Kamala dying, make sure you put that in, that sort of thing. I was talking to a DC writer that I haven't had on the show yet, but like one day I will, and maybe I'll drop who that name is when I do. But this writer was writing a series that I disliked, and I've literally talked about it on the show how much I disliked the series. And I got to talk to the writer, and I realized that the things I disliked about the series, when the series should have been amazing, it was DC editorial coming in and telling the writer do X, Y, and Z, and the writer's like, I didn't want to do X, Y, and Z. Like,
I didn't choose that for a reason.
yeah. And so, like, not the writer's fault. And the writer went on to do another series that I thought was amazing. So, all these writers, these good writers, I think, like, give them benefit of doubt sometimes. Sometimes they're just there to run the clock. Like, I think Batman, I don't know when Batman 149 came out, last week or 2 weeks ago, but Absolute Power #1 came out this week, which means like all these comics have to come out before Absolute Power. You know? So 149 came out June 18th. So yeah, 2 weeks ago. But like last week, 2 Superman titles came out on the same day so they could lead into the 0 issue of Absolute Power. Like Superman and Action Comics came out last week. And that's just because DC's like, let's just do this. Let's get this over with. Move on to Absolute Power. So, let me talk about Batman 150. Batman 150's premise is that during the Batman Catwoman war, Gotham War, that Catwoman had trained a bunch of thieves to essentially not murder anyone, not hurt anyone, but to steal from the rich. So I believe back in that, there was one, just a regular thief, that found out that Bruce Wayne was Batman. And in this issue, it finally comes back to it. And in this issue, the guy's like, hey, I know who Batman is. This is how I know. I won't tell you who it is. Who wants to pay me for it? You know? Which we've kind of seen storylines very similar to it in the past. But this one was really good because he kept going to different people and like problems ensue. Like Two-Face is like, hey, I already know who Batman is. I have 2 sides. Batman has 2 sides. If you get rid of that side, we're just going to get the bat all the time. So you're not going to tell anyone. And I think he might flip a coin or he might just let him off the hook without flipping a coin. I forget what happens. But like, he's just like, get out of here. And then like the guy runs. But like the guy tries to sell it to the Penguin twins, which are like the 2 kids of Penguin. And like one of the bad guys is like, you know, they're going to kill you, right? Like they're just going to get the information and kill you. Like the information is only worthwhile if nobody knows it, right? And so it progresses and it shows how this guy's life, like this guy's such a fuck up. Like his family hates him. His son has disappeared. Like all that. I don't want to spoil the ending. I think you should read this one too.
So like every criminal knows who Batman is. Like who doesn't know?
No. Not everyone knows who Batman is. No. You're saying because Two-Face knows?
No, not just because Two-Face knows. Just because in general, like there is how many people? I feel like almost all of his villains have known it's Bruce, especially within the last 2 years. Like anyone he goes up against, it's just like, oh, Bruce,
Joker.
blah blah.
Joker for sure.
Joker knows. Catwoman, Penguin knows.
Does Penguin know?
Apparently, I didn't know Two-Face knew, but apparently
I didn't know Two-Face knew either. But I don't know Penguin
I feel
knew.
like everyone knows. I'm pretty sure Penguin does know.
I don't think the Riddler knows anymore. I think something happened recently. I don't think the Riddler knows.
I don't know. I think he does too. Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. Like, I
Yeah,
just feel like they know they don't care. Like it's like you said, we don't want the bat all the time.
yeah,
So it's whatever. We're gonna keep playing this game.
yeah.
And
I
but
I like the idea. I came up with an idea like when I was younger of one of his villains being like, and I'm sure it happened at some point, maybe, you know, but where one of the villains are like, look, my beef is with Batman, not Bruce Wayne. So when he puts on the mask, I hunt him down. When he has the mask off, he could be Bruce Wayne. And so, like, I don't know if that's ever happened before, but it would be cool to kind of see that.
I feel like it hasn't happened explicitly, but I think like for Joker
Yeah.
wise, that's kind of
No,
how he
Joker
sees
would
it. Like,
attack Bruce
but
Wayne.
no, Joker has attacked Bruce
Yeah.
Wayne. The whole Joker war was an
Yeah.
attack on Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
So never mind. Never mind. Take that back. But
um,
yeah, I'm gonna get back onto
yeah.
Batman. Maybe
This
we'll
one
see.
was a one shot though. This was issue 150. It was a one shot kind of thing.
Yeah, it's
Um,
gonna go straight into absolute power.
there was like a
So
couple pages at the end that go into Absolute Power. Did you read Absolute Power?
yeah. No, that seems like in excuse the brashness of it,
Yeah.
but it looks like absolute shit. I'm like, I don't this compared because we have absolute power happening at the same time as Blood Hunt, and Blood Hunt just is so good right now. I don't want to say so good. I'm
Blood
not
Hunt's really
completely in love
good.
with it,
Yeah.
but it's good.
Yeah.
Whereas like Absolute Power, I'm tired of seeing Amanda Waller. She's so smart, she's so driven, she's so all this, and yet she has a war against superheroes. Hey, stop trying to save people. Like that makes zero sense. That the
It's
logic behind Amanda Waller, the logic is saying like, hey, we can't let this power unchecked makes sense. But to be like, we can't let this power unchecked, so let's kill them all, or let's have the like let's rule them, or let's get rid of them. That just I don't. Amanda Waller sucks. I don't
yeah.
like her, and
I
so
I'm gonna say this. I think both Marvel and DC have been doing this gimmick that I think is working for right now until they overdo this gimmick, which is tell us the premise for this event and change the premise right off the bat. Like because Axe Judgment Day with Marvel
uh,
was it was supposed to be just like Avengers versus X-Men versus Eternals, and then it was like no no no, it's this judgment of this celestial, right?
but yeah,
And so like they changed the premise halfway or after that first issue or something. I think Absolute Power is going to have a twist. Um,
yeah.
so I'm going to say I'm not going to bat for Absolute Power like I've been batting for Blood Hunt because I have some faults with Absolute Power that I read this week. But Mark Waid is writing it, and
That's plus.
I think it's Dan. Is it Dan Mora on art?
That's 100% plus. Like that. That's a good formula right there for
Look, it's
sure.
Wade and
It's
it's
just
Mora. Um,
yeah, like I know I can't talk shit about that at all. Like, but it's the characters I don't like. I don't
yeah,
care about Amanda Waller and her plan or whatever her agenda is.
yeah.
So
Uh, I think there's gonna be something big that's coming up because right now it seems really simple. Do you want to know who the superhero turncoat is? There's a superhero that went to Waller's side, which this is the flaw that I don't like, and I think there's gonna be a twist with this character. But you want to know?
yeah,
It's Green Arrow. For some
Green
reason,
Arrow.
Green
That
Arrow
makes sense
does it because
because
Green
that
Arrow is against fascist regimes. Like,
hasn't he been working for Checkmate like him and Black Canary? Like don't they work for Checkmate or doesn't he own Checkmate? I
no,
forget. I don't
well, in
really
the
read
past,
that,
past, I
so
don't
I don't
know.
know.
But like, he's been leading up to working with Waller in the past couple of issues of Green Arrow. So,
Mhm.
like, he struck a deal with Waller like a couple of issues ago, and then the most recent issue of Green Arrow, he does the switch. So then Connor Hawk is like, I'm Green Arrow now. And so it's like,
It's so
but like Green Arrow working for Waller is super weird to me, but I think he's doing it to keep an eye on her personally.
a double backstab. I don't know.
Yeah. But here's the thing, though. Waller's main premise of absolute power, the first thing she does is release essentially AI generated fake news. Like she releases videos of main superheroes going amok and letting people burn in buildings, and she keeps ramping it. And she also, because of the presidential decree that happened in I forget what issue, um, the Daily Planet is like, we're not gonna air this fake news. And then Waller essentially taps into Daily Planet's feed and puts out the fake news. So like, this is pure fascist regime, and I'm interested in that because the heroes have gone underground. Or in the case of, sadly, this sucks because people are like, people are like, if I see Green Arrow, it's on site, because Green Arrow deserves to get his ass beat for all this. Because what ends up happening is, because of all the fake news, Animal Man and Animal Girl, which is Buddy Baker and Ellie Baker, I think is her name, they like land, and a crowd of humans start throwing bricks and beat him up into a coma. I don't know if his daughter gets away, but like, he's in a coma. Green Arrow has turned sides. Magic has been taken away. So the Spectre tries to come out and he like disappears. And like, heroes have been taken prisoner. There's all these like little things, because we have Waller, we have Failsafe, we have the Brainiac Queen that came from the end of House of Brainiac. We have Amazo robots, which are the big linchpin for this whole thing. And Waller is essentially like, she shut off the microverse. She made a deal with the United Planets so no extraterrestrial intervention. You can't leave Earth. You can't come in. Like, she's taken away magic. She's done all that. So that's the premise. She's quote unquote thought of everything. No time travelers, no escaping to the microverse for the atom, like all this stuff. And so, if that interests you, I'm not saying to catch up on Batman. You don't need this, but like, if this ends up good, I'll let you know.
I'm not saying that they are copy and paste,
Uh-huh.
right? It's not identical at all. The premise is completely different. But what you just described, it made me think of Civil War, when
Mm,
like all the heroes that were against, one side, they're underground. Spider-Man got beat, or who was it that got beat up? I think it was Spider-Man that got like really beat up, and Punisher like brought him in
yeah, yeah,
all beat
yeah.
up. And so it just that's what it kind of reminds me of, like the heroes underground. And again, it's not the same premise, it's not the same story at all, whatever. But when you framed it the way you just did, I was like, this sounds like Civil War. Yeah,
I
again.
mean,
But
yeah, but in the way that Civil War is like a crossover event that spans every corner of Marvel.
mm,
So just like this does, and they're putting some sort of like ideology that splits
yeah.
people, heroes and
And like,
villains.
and there, here we go. Like, so Green Arrow is kind of your Spider-Man, where Spider-Man was like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
here, I'm Peter Parker. And then so Green Arrow is probably immediately gonna go into hiding
I don't
with
know
the
what Green
heroes
Arrow's
and stuff.
doing, but like, I want to see Connor Hawk beat Ollie, because I'm a big Connor Hawk fan. So the
Yeah.
fact is, if we get
So
growth from this event, I'm cool with it.
so Connor said, I'm Green Arrow now, in the reference of like, I don't know what's going on with Oliver, but I'm Green Arrow
He
now.
sees
Like,
it
it's
on.
so he's not on Oliver's side,
No,
basically.
no.
Okay.
So the rest of the
I
team,
misheard you then.
yeah, the rest of the team, the whole Arrow team, which is a huge team now, they're
Yeah.
chilling, and they see all these things happen, and then Ollie is like, he gets like one phone call, and Ollie's like, look, shit's going down. I'm not being brainwashed. This is me. This is my choice. I think he was like, stay out of it, is essentially what he
That
is.
sounds like something a brainwashed person would say.
Yeah, well,
No,
I don't know what's happening. I also
no.
think that there's something else going on with Amanda Waller. Like, but
That would make sense.
Dream Girl is also on her side. And so Dream Girl is on her side, not ideologically, but like, she has Dream Girl's family like you know, whatever. And so Dream Girl has seen like visions of an apocalyptic future because of Waller. Like there's all these little things. Something is going down. I think there's more to it. And I just have to trust in Wade and Mora, you know?
I think when you mentioned their names, because like that's how much little I cared about Absolute Powers. I didn't even know who was writing it or anything. Wade and Mora is the team. In my opinion, it's the top team right now, especially in DC. 100% they're the best ones.
Yeah.
In comics in general, they're at least top three. Like
Yeah.
I don't know if I can say anything
Um,
else. So yeah, that's a good team. That is definitely a good way to try to convince somebody to read that story. But
yeah.
I don't know. It's just
Another great
Amanda
duo,
Waller.
by the way, and I don't you don't need more convincing for Batman, but like Chip Zdarsky and Jorge Jimenez, they've been a good duo too.
I mean, I agreed in the beginning, but
Yeah.
like I said, I dropped it off for a reason. But
Yeah.
Jorge Jimenez is just a fantastic artist.
Yeah.
So
Let's talk about Birds of Prey because you read that. There's a we gotta
yeah.
we'll fire through some books because we're talking about the big stuff. But Birds of Prey number 11, um, Kelly Thompson writing it, and artist Robbie Rodriguez on this issue. Has Robbie Rodriguez been working on all of them?
I don't know if is he on this issue or was it Javier Pina on this one?
Looks. Oh, it might be. Yeah. Oh no, but it's switch. Does it switch art styles? Is that what's going
It
on?
does. It does. Yeah.
Oh, it
I
is
think there's
Pina.
two or three.
Yeah, it is Pina. But Pina wasn't on the last issue.
No, no.
But Pina
This
was on
issue,
issue 8.
the art in this issue was actually really good.
I
I think it
liked
was
it.
a step up.
Yeah.
Even if it was the same artist, like I think they really stepped up on this issue. That's another
Yeah.
thing about just to take it back to Radiant Black. Radiant Black, not only do they do different things like with the voting, whatever, they have like their art style is amazing. Kyle Higgins has so many different like there's a Blacklight issue cover. There's this I can't even think of it right now, but
Hmm.
they do so many creative things in their issues that the art. So something happened in this one, 29.5, that the art was just like, oh wow, this is trippy. It reminded me of when Nightcrawler took Wolverine inside his portal
Yeah.
in the X-Men 97 and it was like
Yeah.
all trippy. That's what this issue looked like for like
Okay.
2 pages.
All right.
I'm trying to see. Yeah, this one has Robbie Rodriguez and Javier Pina and Gavin Guidry.
Yeah, I saw that.
Guidry.
Yeah.
That
Um
might be
I like this
this one.
issue, and what I really like about this Birds of Prey run is the writer Kelly Thompson really gets these characters,
Mhm.
and like it's super cool. Like, uh, if you're looking for an action-packed book, this isn't packed cover to cover with action, right? There's a lot of
No,
character
but
moments.
when there's action, it's good action.
Yeah,
Like it's
yeah,
really nice. And the characters, like you're saying, like the characters do sound the dialogue sounds like the characters, what you would expect from the characters.
yeah.
Um, I would say maybe Barda is a little bit
Barda,
too simple.
they
Too
dumbed her
simple.
down, right, for this book,
Yes,
where she's just
I don't
like
like it.
dumb Thor kind of character, just like ah.
Yes, but they dumped her dialogue down, but herself, like she still like emotionally intelligent.
Mm,
Um, I think she's still a smart hero. It's just her dialogue is so dumb. Yeah, Hulk
yeah.
wise, like, and she speaks. Has she always spoken in third person? I don't know much
No,
about Barda, but
no.
in this whole thing, it's always Barda this, Barda that. I'm like, you can
Yeah,
stop now.
I don't know.
It's like you
I
don't have to do that.
a funny moment in a previous issue was when she thought the clothes hypnotized people, so she took off her own clothes. I thought it was funny,
Yeah,
but I also couldn't find why she would do that.
the logic.
The
Yeah,
logic
like
behind that. It's
she's
funny,
not
great,
dumb.
yeah. So I don't know. Point being is though, I do like this book, and I think that this book needs to keep going, no matter what. I think we need more
Yes.
character centric books that don't get canceled. You know?
Yeah, I would like at least 25 issues. That's about 2-year run. So
I'm a personal believer that there are certain titles that should be ongoing in DC Comics no matter what, through thick and thin, through bad and good, but you keep that on, like you keep it running. Birds of
yeah.
Prey, I think, is one of them. Like I think there should
Uh,
always be a Birds of Prey comic.
this is the first Birds of Prey series I've ever read. So
Oh,
I don't have an opinion on
well,
the other ones and stuff.
they disappeared for a long time. Yeah, but
Yeah,
like back in the
yeah.
day, there was an ongoing Birds of Prey comic, and they cycled through characters and introduced new characters that you've never heard of, and then that's kind of what comics should be. Like there are characters that will be main characters in their series, and there are characters that will cameo and make guest appearances in all these different comics, and that's how it works, you know.
Yeah. I
But
would like that, yeah. Because isn't that's what's happening here too? Like, do you say Constantine or do you say Constantine?
I say Constantine. I know that supposedly Constantine is the most correct.
So hard to say
I don't want to.
Constantine.
I just
Like
don't. I choose
it's
not to
it's
say
unnatural. It's unnatural to say
Constantine.
Constantine. But he shows up in this like every other issue and stuff. So like it's cool seeing like that this is the world, all the heroes are living in this same world. And every once in a while you can just pop in and be like, oh, what's up? What's going on? How can I help? This issue itself, um, I thought it was good. It was fine. I will say, except for Radiant Black, all of the books that I read this week, I feel like they were all good. They were
Okay.
just average. They
Yeah.
were just, yeah, I read a book. It wasn't horrible. I'm not mad that I read it, but
Yeah.
nothing like really stood out. This one, it's just like the third part out of five, so it's in that middle ground where it's just building the story. And oh, I mean, what even happened in it? They got stuck
In the
in
prehistoric
the savage world.
dinosaur kind of.
Savage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think the
Yeah.
big standout of this was Vixen can't access her powers, and
Hmm.
when the dinosaurs attack, Vixen almost dies. And Vixen
Yeah.
can't fight. Like, Vixen isn't a fighter. She's a super
Right.
powered
Right.
character. She uses the powers of animals. And if you can't access that, she's just a runway model. Like, she's a fashion designer slash model that has superhero powers. Take those powers away, she's not doing much. And so there's a scene where she almost dies, and then Black Canary saves her and essentially says, Barda, until Vixen gets her powers back, you're with her, no matter what.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a good choice by Black Canary. Black Canary's being the leader, telling people what to do, they accept it. But at the same time, I was like, it is disrespectful to Vixen, but it makes sense. And then they mentioned that she, like, how she felt about it. And I was like, good.
Mhm.
It's not enough just to disrespect Vixen, but question is, how does Vixen feel being disrespected like that? And so Black Canary mentions that, like, I think Vixen says, you didn't do that for Cass. And she's like, yeah, but
Yeah.
Cass's main,
That's a
I think they
cat.
pointed out, it's not about powers versus no powers. It's about whether, like, your skill set that you depend on, is it there or not
Yeah.
there?
And this is actually why I gave this issue a three, like a perfect score in dialogue, because they did talk it out. It wasn't just, oh, I'm upset and now I'm mad. I'm gonna go into my corner and pout and stuff. Like he as a canary as a leader spoke to her person, was like, this is why I made these decisions. Are you okay? How can we help? Do you need some time alone? That's fine, whatever. And here's why I made my decisions. Like this, it's just good dialogue that was throughout the characters. And also, I remember when that happened, that she almost got killed by that dinosaur.
Yeah.
There's like a full spreadsheet of a cast like jumping from dinosaur to dinosaur. Every other hero is like in one section dealing with their one monster or whatever, but you see cast like just jumping around the page all throughout. And I noticed it immediately. I was like, that's really cool because that's who she is. That's her power. Like she
Yeah.
is her power. But
Right.
that's who Cass is. And like this is way before that line came up of she didn't lose her skill set.
Yeah.
It's not because she's powerless, but you did lose your skill set. You have a weapon that you use all the time, and that's your main source of power. And if you don't have it, then you're not expected to be just as powerful,
And it's
right?
okay. Like
So,
she wasn't
and that's
berating
fine.
her.
Yeah,
Yeah. You know
yeah.
what this reminds me of? That I really liked in the Young Justice cartoon is that Black Canary is the therapist
Oh yeah, that's right.
in the Young, which I don't remember ever being part of the comics. And I could be wrong, but like Black Therapy, Black Canary, Black Therapy. It sounds like a podcast. That's a different thing. But like Black Canary being the therapist, um, kind of worked its way into here because almost like being a good leader, being a caring, compassionate leader, is that empathetic sort of therapeutic, being able to talk about things like that. So, um, I like that
I
issue.
hope I'll say on the flip side of that same coin, it was very illogical in my opinion that 2, 3 pages later, Vixen has her powers back. She's great. She's full 100%.
Yeah,
I hope the next issue does talk more into it of because it was like the last 2 pages where you see Vixen get her powers back.
yeah.
So I hope the next issue is like, oh yeah, I did this to tap into
It
this,
was the
or
portal.
something
I think it
happened.
was the portal that opened it.
Maybe,
I don't know what it
may
is, but it
that's what I'm
also
saying.
looked
I hope
weird,
they
right?
explain it.
Did it look weird at
Yeah,
the end?
it might be the art style,
Yeah,
and like that's why it looks weird. But I need an explanation other than it's comics, and
yeah,
of course she got her powers back when she focused on her powers, whatever.
right.
But that so like on the flip side, that was like the most negative thing for me, which is like, oh, she just got her powers and saves the day.
Yeah,
Great, like
I think we got to trust in the series sometimes.
yeah,
Um,
exactly. It was the end of the book, so don't most likely explain it.
yeah.
But,
Um,
yeah, that's a good book.
really quick, what else did you read?
Rogue Sun 20 was so it was Radiant Black first, Birds of Prey was the second one. Rogue Sun is next. That one's good. It's just the beginning of an arc,
Mm,
of the newest arc, and it's showing the main character Dylan still working with his dad on how to be a hero, and his dad's trying to give him pointers of like, hey, you need to do this with this villain and blah blah blah. And he's like, nah, I think I'm just gonna go do this, and it works, but it's just like not as precise as his dad would have done it, whatever.
mm-hmm.
But it's just kind of setting up everything. I think they mentioned other heroes in this world because this is part of the Massiverse. So the other heroes that we know of the Massiverse is Radiant Black, Dead Lucky, Inferno Girl Red.
Yeah,
But in this issue, we get like the name drop of another organization. I think they're called the damn, I already forgot the perfect something. I don't know. It's very uh
ominous.
conceited. The no, it's very conceited. Like we're the best.
Oh,
That's how it sounds. Like the name is basically we're perfect.
yeah,
And but they're the good guys, whatever. So that he kind of has like a team up with one of the group members of this group, um, and they go and like the book ends with where they go to like this villain hideout or HQ, and they break in, and then the villains attack, and then that's like all right, next issue, and then that's it.
yeah,
So very very like straightforward first issue, kind of first story of the arc book. Nothing great, nothing amazing, but it was good.
yeah, yeah. Um, what else did you read?
After that, it was Doctor Strange, which was a tie-in to
I want to talk
the
about it. You
Blood
didn't like
Hunt.
it?
Uh,
I
I
liked it.
didn't not like
I
like
kind of liked it.
I liked the I liked Wong just being like Wong's a badass, right? And he's
Yeah,
just like, you are in the wrong fight, And I like the logic of Victor, which is Doctor Strange's brother, who's the main villain in this story. Victor saying like, yeah, you do. You have me beat in every single way right now, except I'm willing to kill you and you're not.
yeah,
I'm in Doctor Strange's body and you're not willing to do what's necessary
yeah,
to win this fight. And
yeah.
so
I
that was fun. That was good.
I like this idea, and maybe it's just because I'm a dog fan, but they do this. They do
Yes.
the thing in this issue where they're like, when mankind first was afraid of saber-tooth tigers killing them, they created a god of fear, which is a tiger-based god of fear. But then, who did they have to protect them? They had dogs, right? Wolves had domesticated dogs, so fear created God, a fear god, And love created a god of love, which is dogs. So it's a dog god of love, and then you have the ghost dog that's Doctor Strange's ghost dog Bats being like, "Oh my god," and he's like, "I am," and
I
like,
am. Yeah. I laughed so much at that. I also liked when he said, "Who's a good boy?" Like,
yeah,
I thought that was really cool.
yeah,
Yeah, I forgot that happened. Yeah, that was a really good part of the story. But it was just like the final issue of this like tie-in. So
with Blood
it was
Hunt,
kind
yeah,
of wrapping everything up pretty quickly.
yeah,
I did like that aspect of, and I also like that the dog god was like, you can't, I appreciate you being my avatar, and you did a great job, but
you're a good
you
boy, yeah,
you're not. Yeah, you're a good boy, but you can't last long with like, how does he word it? He says like, you can't channel my power for so
yeah,
long without erasing yourself from existence, from
right.
this existence.
I like the
But
logic that Victor in Doctor Strange's body was like, "You
go.
can't harm me," and then Bats is like, "You
Mhm.
forget, I'm a ghost dog. I will bite
Yeah,
a ghost person. I'm not biting the actual person, right?" So like he
right.
does like a ghost bite and he takes him out of the body, which I thought was cool.
And you got kind of just to throw that wrench in there. The only thing I didn't like, the illogical part of this is, why is Doctor Strange no longer a vampire? Why why did that cure him?
Maybe the god of love, maybe the dog god kind of. I don't know. I don't know. Uh,
I think it'll be answered in Blood Hunt 5. That's what they said. Like,
yeah,
hey, more in Blood Hunt. This continues in Blood Hunt 5. So
yeah,
maybe they'll answer it. And I'm sure that the Doctor Strange book in general would just kind of like say, thanks, Bats, for blah, 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 blah. And that's explaining real quick. And
yeah.
that's it. But
I
that's just me
love the
being nitpicky.
Yeah, I love the two snakes. They did a joke because especially I wanted to shout out this joke specifically. So they say three jokes. They go, "Mordo's so old he remembers when Galactus was the new kid in town." Then
Yeah.
they go, "Mordo is so old. Mordo is short from Mordosaurus." And it's like, okay, whatever. But what I found really kind of funny is Mordo's so old he still calls it the Timely Universe. And they're like,
Mm,
wait,
mm,
what? So Timely is the old comic company that Marvel was. So Marvel's old name,
mm.
Timely, he doesn't think of he's so old. This universe isn't the
He's
Marvel
still.
universe, it's the Timely universe.
I knew it was a reference. I guess as soon as I read it, I was like, this is a reference to something I don't know, but it's
Yeah,
still funny. Like, I understood that there was like a little thing there that made this funny. So I laughed whenever I read it.
yeah,
But that's hilarious. The Timely used to be, or Marvel used to be Timely.
yeah.
That's
Um,
so funny.
it's
I hate
it,
those snakes, but that's funny.
yeah. Are the snakes
I
bad?
felt exactly like Mortal. I don't know if they're bad, but they're dumb.
Yeah, I
You
can't
know,
remember if they were
exactly how
bad or
Mortal
not.
feels about them
Yeah,
is how I feel. Yeah, I was like, I get you.
yeah,
He's like, I will not be stuck in here for eternity with these idiots.
yeah. Did you read anything else, or once you're done going over what you read, I'll just go real quick with what I read, and then.
Oh, I only read two more things, and
Mhm.
I think we both read Miles Morales 22. Uh,
Yeah, I was like, I don't care much. Like, I could have skipped that issue. Not much happened. There was the demon Reamer or whatever his name is, and
I do not care for Hytale, honestly.
mm,
It's, she's just angry the whole time.
she's
She's
angry and super
every
fast.
time yeah, it's everything she does. She's just been angry and constantly telling Miles that she doesn't like him, but obviously she does, and like, not in a romantic way, but like, like he's grown on her,
Yeah,
and
I think they're trying to set up the whole redeemed villain angle. That like every
yeah,
hero, if they're doing their job right, should redeem a villain. Like set the balance
at least
back
one,
a
yeah,
little, you know? Um,
yeah.
because I think they're just setting that
I
up.
And then the whole Dracula thing. It was a good final page. Like the final page when they Dracula, Bloodline
Bloodline.
and Miles, they all went through the portal. It was a good little like splashing. Like, that's how the movie ends. It's a freeze frame, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But I mean, the story itself, it was typical, just, hey, there's some vampires attacking. We stop them. We put the vampire back in their cave, and that's it. But
yeah.
uh but nothing special from this book. And then the last one was Shazam 13, which so I think I have about the same feelings of Shazam, just like Wade was the writer and now it's not, and you can tell it's not the writer anymore,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Nothing against Josie Campbell. The story itself is doing pretty good. I have we not gotten this story of Billy meets his mom or whatever before? This is my first Shazam book,
Billy
so
meets his dad
I don't
in a
know.
previous run.
Okay.
There's that whole thing. But
Yeah.
Billy meets his mom, I don't know. Well, because I mean, we get in the movie. Like the movie Shazam, he
Yeah.
meets his mom, right? So I don't know. But right now, the interesting part to me is Freddie and Mary. And like, I guess the big thing right now is like Billy and the captain are like two different entities not
Don't like
agreeing.
that. I was gonna talk to you about that. I was like, I don't like that it's two different people. Has it always been two? I always thought of it as like they're the same person.
Mm-hmm.
It's not he just ages up or whatever and becomes a hero. But I understand that the premise of it was that with the he took on the wisdom of Solomon. So with so much with him, the captain kind of took on his own uh essence. Like
Yeah,
he is its own thing now. He's his own person that shares a body with Billy, but I
right.
don't know if I like that. I haven't. I'm not liking it so far. I don't hate it. I don't like immediately reject it, but so far it's just not been great.
I'm with you. I
So,
don't know how I feel about it. I do think that like from a long time ago, I've always thought to myself like if the wisdom of Shazam is granted, you would be a different person, right? Like
he makes better decisions, and that's been touched on. Like I make better decisions when I'm the captain, or whenever I become Shazam. But this whole like he's his own identity thing, like
yeah.
that's the weird part.
But that's the thing though. Like I feel like if I had the wisdom of Shazam and then I turned it off and then turned it back on again, I feel like is that really me though? Like am I really me if I
You
have the
know,
wisdom of Shazam?
Wade touched on that whenever I think in issue 1 or 2, like right before he goes to school or something. He's like, "Oh, I'm not as wise as I am when I'm Shazam. I need to blah 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 blah." But I wouldn't say you're a different person. You just have different
Here's the question: if I have different wants and desires
problem.
with
I
the
wouldn't say
wisdom,
wants and desires. I would say problem solving skills, right?
so it's
Because
just a performance enhancing drug,
kind of, yeah, basically.
but it's not a personality altering. Does it all? If it alters his personality, I would say he's a different person.
I don't think it alters his personality, but when he becomes 100% the wisdom of Solomon, he he basically doesn't worry about the emotions of his decisions. Like
Yeah,
he makes logical decisions. He
cold,
doesn't care
heartless
about.
decisions.
Yes, exactly. So it is a little tough. The question you're asking. I don't think he becomes a different person though. I think. Well, I mean, obviously in this story, he is a different person. It is the captain and it is Billy. But
Yeah,
whenever we're talking about like Shazam in general, like from other stories or from like Justice League Unlimited and stuff, I think that right there is just he makes more mature decisions, whatever, but
yeah.
it's still the same person.
Okay.
In this storyline, though, it is definitely
Yeah,
two
they're
people.
they're saying that it's two different people. Yeah. Um. By the way, just side note, and I don't want to talk about it too much. You've seen X-Men: Days of Future Past, right? The movie.
Yes.
So you know how
Yeah.
Wolverine changes the timeline and then he suddenly appears in the future with the memories of his past, like he, right? But technically it's a new timeline, but he has the same memories, right?
Yeah, he shouldn't have, but he does. Yeah.
Right. Technically, he killed the Wolverine that was in that mind that lived that whole timeline. He has no memories of the new timeline. He has no memories of the new timeline. That new timeline Wolverine is a different Wolverine. He has died. He has now taken over his thing. Unless they merged the memories, which they didn't, because he was very caught back at the end of Days of Future Past. Essentially, he killed the alternate timeline Wolverine and took over his body. Because he just jumps forward in time.
Yeah,
Anyway, that's
yeah,
just a side thing. I'm just saying the idea of consciousness, which is what the Krakoan Age X-Men was dealing with and whatever. The idea of consciousness is that like if you've lived a different life experience, you are a different person. If you clone yourself, once you clone yourself, you are two different people because at that point on you start experiencing life in two different ways. You know?
yeah. I can see that, but I think if I like, obviously, yes, if I clone myself right now, this other person, it's definitely another person. But core
Gamora.
wise, I would say the
Gamora in
values
Oh, so what's that?
I would say value wise, like your core values most likely still remain the same, but your experiences, if someone is more experienced than I am, if my clone had more life experience than I did, they would probably, if, and we're faced with the same decision, they would probably make another decision that I
Right.
wouldn't because of that. So but core value wise, I think we're still the same.
So Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, where Gamora is essentially the past Gamora, right? But that has
Mhm.
gone on her own path. She's not living the same experiences that Gamora Prime lived. She's a different person.
Right.
There are new lessons she's learning. There's old lessons she didn't learn. She's a different person.
And that's and that goes to what you're saying too. Is like the old Gamora that we knew, she learned a lot of compassion from being with the Guardians of the Galaxy and stuff like that. So her being faced with any decision that involve any slightest amount of emotion would be completely different from the Gamora from Volume 3.
Yeah.
And but I think in the core value wise, I get that did change too. Core values did change too. That's a
Because
that's a tough
your
question.
core values, dude, like your values when you're 5 are different than your values when you're 15. Different than your values when you're
Yeah,
25, right? So, like, who knows? Billy and Shazam, Captain, I don't know. We'll figure it out
that
later.
also that also begs the question of how old is the captain? Just because he's an adult, is he still?
I don't think age matters at that point. How much lived experience does he have? I think that's what it is, right?
Does he get more lived experience as the captain? Even though if it's still Billy,
If he has
they have the
memories
same
of
experience.
Billy's human life, then I would say
He doesn't
Captain.
have his own memory. That's what I'm saying. The captain doesn't have a whole other life.
Right. He only
He didn't
exists when
live any
Billy
other
changes to him.
experiences. Right. So he's wiser and that's it. His decision making. Again, back to the problem solving skills, that he just takes the emotion away from it. And it's just a cold, calculated decision. But he doesn't have any experiences to differ from Billy.
This book is saying that he does kind of live in that reflection in a way. Like he lives in the back of his mind, right? As his own
Right.
consciousness.
But he doesn't have his own life.
Well, what's a life? If he's living in the back of his head, I would say that that's his life. If he's seeing things and
Right. But
learning different lessons than Billy, I would say
at the
he's just
same
sitting in the
time,
back of Billy's head. If he's learning different lessons than Billy, then yeah, like he's on his own path.
you're saying that he's learning different lessons from the same event.
Yeah, so if Billy is just going through his
Okay.
life being like, I'm a kid, I'm gonna, study for this exam. And if Billy is like, my lesson learned is that I can't stay up too late, otherwise I'm too sleepy for the test the next morning. And the captain in the back of his head is like, yes, but also I have the wisdom of Shazam, so I'm not learning this lesson. Like, this lesson doesn't apply to me. Then the captain has never learned the lesson of go to sleep, wake up refreshed for a test the next morning. So he's like living a different life. And on reverse, there could be a lesson that Billy doesn't learn, the captain learns in the back of his head. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think we're
Yeah.
debating consciousness in superheroes. I
Yeah.
think that's a whole different, like, that's a philosophical, like, you
That's a
know?
hard question. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's another reason why I don't like the fact that they separated the
Yeah.
captain and
It's too
Billy.
many
I
questions.
just and in the book itself, Billy or the captain made a decision without Billy's knowledge, and like took away Billy's memories without letting him know. And that was pretty messed up. I didn't like that
Yeah.
at all. So just the story in general, the whole fact that Billy feels like everything is his fault, like his mom, he finds his mom and he discovers that he has a little brother and he's like, oh wow, so she could do it all along. It's just I was the problem. I'm the one that
Yeah.
she couldn't have a family with. I'm the one that she couldn't have a successful life with.
Yeah.
And so it's like he's learning the wrong lesson and the captain knows this. And so it just goes back to like
Yeah.
I don't like that woe is me character trope,
Unless you
especially
learn a
with this
lesson from it, right?
because he he's not he's focusing on the fact that his mom has a new family or whatever, but he's not. And I of course he's a kid. I can look at this with my biased eyes or whatever, but he's got his own family that he's had a whole lifetime of adventures with as the Shazam family, as just the Vasquez family in general. Like he obviously has a functional family. It's just not a family that's written like it's a fairy tale family,
Yeah.
whatever. He should see that, and I just feel like that's not a stretch for him to make that connection.
It's
Even if he
also
is a kid, even if he
he's a
is
kid.
emotional, even if he's a kid and he's feeling an emotion and everything like that, I don't like it. I was
I
like,
mean,
no, he could have felt he could have felt it, been upset by it, but he should, and of course, that's what I'm saying. But he should have been able to be like, I need to go vent to my family. I don't have a successful family. All right, they have a successful family. I'm the problem. I cannot have a family. Wait, I do have a family. I gotta go tell them. Like
yeah.
I just feel like that's not too far of a step, no matter how emotional you are.
Yeah.
Especially because Billy is a hero. So
Yeah.
going back to the wisdom, all that, but I don't know. I expect more from Billy.
We'll see where this fictional character takes us going forward. My big problem with this artist on this run, I want the parents to look like the parents in the movie. I like because I like the actor and actress, right? And like
Yeah.
they're so because it's the one guy he was on Walking Dead, that actor. You know what I'm talking about? The
Hmm.
big guy. I love him.
Hmm.
I wish he was in the comics drawn like that instead of these other two parents. And I'm like, I don't know
Yeah.
you guys. I don't know you. I don't know. So anyway, that's
Yeah.
just a side note. Um, was that your final book?
Yeah. That was
Okay.
it. That's all I read.
Really quick, I just want to go over Justice Society of America number 10. There's some cool things at play if you like the Justice Society in general. They introduced this identity of who the Legionnaire is. Um, it's very similar to Iron Lad and Kang the Conqueror. Um, Basically, the Legionnaire, spoiler alert, is Mordru, and Mordru is the dark magician who has plagued the Justice Society and the Legion of Superheroes from the future. And so, but there's a young version of Mordru, so he's trying to change his own timeline to be good. So, a very Iron Lad from
I was just about to
Young
say, oh, you're talking
Avengers.
about Iron Lad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is very similar. Kind of in a funny way, but I'm okay with it. Deadpool number 4. This run of Deadpool's good. Can't complain. Um, uh,
Is this the last run?
what's up? I love the last run.
Is it? That's what I'm saying. So is it just as good as the last run, or
This one's written by Cody Ziegler, and Cody Ziegler is quality. Cody Ziegler's like one of, I would say like the best, like one of the best upcoming artists, like up in like new blood freshman class. Cody Ziegler, is he still writing Miles Morales?
yeah? That's what I was
Yeah.
gonna ask you. Does the dialogue sound the same
No, this it's
for?
different. Yeah.
Okay, that's
Cody
good.
Ziegler
That's
also
good.
helped take it for what you will, but he was also on the writing staff for She-Hulk. The TV show, the TV show. Um
Yeah.
and so like Cody Ziegler is plugged in pretty well. But yeah, this run has Deadpool's daughter. It has Princess, I think is the Carnage symbiote dog. It has Taskmaster. Taskmaster's like pretty cool. I don't know. Anyway, it's worth picking up. Um, the Boy Wonder number 3. That's from Black Label, and it's just the premise is it's a kid that's been taken hostage by a robber, and the kid is telling the hostage like fairy tales, but the fairy tales are of the different Robins. So it's like, oh, once upon a time there was a kingdom, there was a man who protected the kingdom, and he had an adopted son, this prince. And so like it's fairy tale, but it's telling the story of Dick Grayson and all the Robins and everything, right? And so who's the kid underneath the mask? It's not Damien, which is what a lot of people thought. I think it's a girl, and they gave the girl a name that I don't recognize. So, but there's a story going on in this fairy tale that it is an actual story, and it has to do with Damien and the demon. And like it's drawn really well. The art is really good. It is very like Arabian Nights ish, which works for Damien and his like ethnic background. So like I would say wait for it to be compiled into one book. But if you like Black Label stuff and like you just want to collect the individual issues, like go ahead. You know?
The writer on that.
Um Writer on this is writer and artist is Junie Ba.
Hmm.
So it's very interesting. Junie Ba is known for a lot of independent comics, like Monkey Meat.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Monkey, yeah.
I can picture that. Yeah.
And then Monkey Meat from Image Comics. Boom Studios had Dark Blood. But yeah, that's what Junie Ba is known for. Anyway, I think it's good. It's not the best. The art is amazing, and the writing is good. I just think it might work better as like a whole story, you know. Really quick, Life of Wolverine #1. I only got halfway through it. It was kind of boring. It was just kind of like a history of Wolverine, and that's kind of what it was. It lacked a story. It was just like, here's the events in Wolverine's life, and I'm like, okay, whatever. Spider-Man Reign 2. I don't know what the point of it is. I don't get it. I want to find someone who liked it. I don't know who liked it. And at the end, they introduce, you want to know who they introduce? Because it takes place in the future. It's an old, decrepit Peter Parker, right? It's Dark Knight Returns. Who's a character that didn't exist 20 years ago when Reign 1 came out?
Is it Miles?
It's Miles.
Miles.
Yeah.
It's Miles. God.
So it's an old man Miles who I think is a bad guy.
Oh, of course. Why would he be any kind of help towards Peter Parker? Why would Peter need any help?
No. This Peter Parker also is always so old and needs help. Like, they introduced this new, like, Black Cat type of character. And so, like, okay, I don't know. I'll read issue 2 just to see what happens, but this might not be the one for me. But what is the one for me that I guess I'll end on is My Adventures with Superman. #2.
This is a continuation of the show, of the animated show.
This series takes place in between seasons 1 and 2. So season 2 is going on right now, and so this takes place in between and introduces characters that aren't seen in season 1 or 2, which is the Amazo robot, and it introduces Bloodsport, which is Idris Elba's character in the Suicide Squad. That character, they introduce him in this book. So it's kind of cool. The way they go about it. So all in all, like I mean, if you like the show, My Adventure with Superman, the comic is good too.
I like the show, but I'm very, very much have a boomer mentality behind it. I was like, that's not how Slade is. That's not how blah blah. That's not how Superman works. That's not.
It's an adaptation. You just gotta take that. You gotta take it as an adaptation. For example, Superman having that weird electricity power. Like,
it pissed me off at first, but then I'm like, I immediately I'm like, nope, it's okay.
Its own thing. It's his own thing.
It's not the Superman on the comic. It's not the canon. It's his own adaptation. Like, maybe it's a cool story, but I really do hate on it a lot. Like, I catch myself hating on it, and then I'm like,
the characters are the best part.
Go back
of the cartoon.
I do like them. Jimmy, I did tell myself if Jimmy loses all of his like this is a spoiler. If you haven't watched the show, stop listening. But if Jimmy
Are you
loses
up to
all of his
date?
millions, yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. Are you completely
Yeah.
up to date? Okay, so yeah, if Jimmy loses his millions, I'm gonna stop watching the show. And of course, like as soon as I saw
He went down to
the
zero?
like the numbers dropping, well, not that it went down to zero, just like the very first time they showed like the numbers dropping, like however much he just spent, I was like, he's gonna lose all of it. That pisses me off so much. Like
He's
he's
down
gonna
to zero.
spend all of that. Yeah, yeah. Of
Yeah.
course, he space travel.
Yeah.
How do you not go down to zero?
I'm cool with
That
it. I think like I like the Jimmy in the show because he's capable, right?
Yes. My
He's
favorite part from him was like him when he like brought Lois and Superman. He's like, no, oh, you're not gonna do Jimmy this, Jimmy that. Talk right now. Just
yeah.
talk. Yeah,
I,
that was great.
yeah.
Like, thank you.
I love the subversion of tropes in that respect, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um that's
Vision.
pretty much it. I mean, those are all the comics that I read and those the comics you read,
Yeah.
which is a good amount of comics. I was surprised.
It's a good week. Like I said, those comics weren't bad or anything. It was just it was a good reading, good mid. I guess this is the first week of July, but it felt like a mid-month week kind of
Yeah.
thing.
I'm going to look and see if there's five. Oh, this is a 5 Wednesday month.
Is it? Oh, that means that fifth. Maybe this will be the. No, that fifth one's gonna. Yeah, because the annual came out this week, I think.
Amazing
The
Spider-Man
Spider-Man
annual?
annual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot of big names came out this week, like Venom 35 and you know. So
No. Okay. Well, let's go check it out.
so I don't know. They're either going to have a light 31st or I mean, this is the month that 4 new X-Men titles kick off this month.
For me, the 31st is it's looking like it's just 5 books, but one of those books is Saga. Saga's coming back, so that's cool.
Oh, for you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's
just
see.
for me. Yeah, like I don't read
Uh
that much Marvel, so
Marvel and DC actually it looks pretty stacked. At least for DC. Marvel might be a little light on that week. Yeah, Marvel's a little bit light on that final week. Because from Marvel, the big titles coming out on Marvel on the 31st is Ultimate Black Panther. I'm trying to look at big titles. Captain America, I guess, if you want to consider it a big title. NYX #1. Um, I mean, that's pretty much it for like big name Marvel titles. And then there's other like Marvel miniseries. So that's what it is. Marvel's just going to go light on the final week.
makes sense.
It is what it is. I want to thank you, man, so much for coming on this, especially on July 4th. Before we get going, where can people find you? What do you got coming up? Anything you want to plug?
Uh, at Manny Reads Comics, pretty much anywhere. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. I haven't really done much. I don't really have anything coming up either. But if you ever want to check out what I've done before, go check it out. It's just a bunch of comic book reviews and things like that. But yeah, that's at Manny Reads Comics.
Awesome. Awesome. For anyone out there who's watching us live, you're watching us on twitch.tv/The Keeg Show or youtube.com/The Keeg Show. Or maybe you're listening to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts from, whether it's Apple Podcasts or Spotify or iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, SoundCloud, wherever you can find us there at The Keeg Show. So The Keeg is the name of the podcast. Comic Talk is one of the many shows that we do. You can find us on social media. TikTok and Instagram are two biggest ones at The Keeg Show. But we're also on Facebook, Threads, Twitter, all that at The Keeg Show or /The Keeg Show. Pretty much wherever, including patreon.com/The Keeg Show. Wherever you're at, like, comment, subscribe, follow, write a review. Let us know you're out there. Let us know you're listening. Because sometimes people watch us live and sometimes people listen to the podcast. So, pick your poison and enjoy Comic Talk either way. If you want to follow me personally and see what I'm up to as Dimithri, you can find me at This Is Dimithri on pretty much social media in general. Instagram is probably my biggest one personally. Other than that, find a comic shop near you with comicshoplocator.com. Also support your local public libraries. If you want to rent and check out comic books, public libraries have a lot of comics now. Like definitely use that resource, especially if you have young kids. That you don't want to invest in comics for them per se, but you can rent those books. You can check out those books at your local public library. So definitely support them. Get a library card and do all that. This is Comic Talk. It's that show brought to you by the Key, where we talk about new comic books that come out that week. So today is a Thursday, and we do it every Thursday. Normally, every Thursday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Today was a early episode, but that's pretty much it. Thank you, Manny, so much for coming on. Thank you, anyone out there who is watching and or listening. I'm your host, Dimithri Perera, and this has been Comic Talk for the week of Thursday, July 4th, 2024. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Super